I'm Mike Pastor, Editorial Director at MarTech. What follows is an AI-generated audio deep dive on Salesforce Agentforce. This content is based on the popular Salesforce Agentforce What You Need to Know article on martech.org. If you visit that page, you'll also have the ability to ask our AI-powered MarTech bot anything you want about Salesforce Agentforce. We hope you find this useful to your work. And thanks, as always, for being part of the MarTech community.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a stack of sources about a pretty major development from Salesforce. You know, the AI world moves so fast, and this article we've got points to a really significant shift in, well, what AI can actually do.
Right.
So what we're looking at for this deep dive is an article from martech.org. It came out May 15, 2025, and it really breaks down this new platform layer from Salesforce called Agentforce.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is pretty clear. Unpack this source, get a handle on what Agentforce actually is, why Salesforce is calling it the third wave of AI.
Yeah, that's a big claim.
It is. And what it all means for businesses and, how we might end up interacting with tech down the line.
That's exactly it. This deep dive should help us grasp that core idea, the shift from AI that, mostly generates stuff, information, text, to AI that's designed specifically to take action.
Okay.
We'll look at the features, the tech behind it, the applications they're building, all based on what's in this article.
Okay. Get ready. There are definitely some implications here, some things you might not expect. Let's unpack this. So the article starts right off saying Agentforce is this fundamental shift.
Yeah.
What's the big picture? What's actually changing here?
Well, the main thing the source points to is moving away from just generative AI. The kind we're all pretty used to now, like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, great for creating content, answering questions based on patterns they've learned.
Right, summarizing things, drafting emails.
Exactly. To what Salesforce calls agentic AI. And they're positioning this as the third wave.
The third wave.
And the key difference, the article stresses, is that generative AI mostly gives you information. Agentic AI, like Agentforce, is built to actually take action on its own, based on its understanding.
So it's not just suggesting the answer to a customer's problem. It might actually, apply a discount or update their account.
Precisely. That's the idea. The source quotes Marc Benioff, the Salesforce CEO, calling it a new era of highly accurate, low-hallucination intelligent agents that actively drive customer success. He apparently even said at the launch, the only thing we're going to do at Salesforce is Agentforce.
Wow, okay. That's putting all your chips on the table.
It really shows how central it is to their strategy, yeah.
He also called it AI for the rest of us? What's that about? Making it easier to use?
Seems like it. The source notes that a big goal is accessibility. You don't need to be like an LLM guru or a computer science PhD to build or use these agents effectively in your business.
Okay, that makes sense. So if it takes action, what is Agentforce like technically? And how does it do things reliably without messing up?
Good question. The source describes it as a foundational platform layer, right there in the Salesforce ecosystem. The agents it builds use generative AI at their core, but the big differentiator Salesforce is pushing is that they're engineered to be trusted to actually execute tasks, within boundaries, of course.
How's that different from older chatbots, the ones that just follow a script?
Yeah, it's a leap beyond those. The article explains that unlike those rigid rule-based bots, these AI agents are much more flexible. They use powerful LLMs, yes, but critically. They're trained and grounded, is the word they use, in your own company's internal data. Specifically, Agentforce pulls context from Salesforce Data Cloud.
Ah, okay. So it knows your business, not just the whole internet.
Exactly. And to build them, the source mentions a few tools Salesforce provides: Agent Builder, Model Builder, and Prompt Builder. These are mostly low-code, so businesses can customize agents without heavy coding.
The article used an analogy I thought was interesting, self-driving cars. How does that fit in?
Yeah, it's a decent analogy. It helps illustrate how the agent perceives real-time data like a car seeing road conditions and then acts independently, like driving the car, but always within strict rules or guardrails, like traffic laws or the car's safety limits. Agentforce agents interpret business data and act, but within the company's policies and permissions.
Got it. Acting within bounds.
Right. And Salesforce also claims, according to the source, that Agentforce has the lowest hallucination rate for generative AI, though the article does point out they didn't provide a specific number for that.
Interesting claim. Still, Low hallucination is key if it's taking action. So what's actually powering this? What's the engine?
Under the hood, it's an upgraded version of their Einstein AI. They're calling it the Atlas Reasoning Engine. The article says it's designed specifically to, and this is a quote, simulate how humans think and plan. That's key for doing things that take multiple steps.
Okay, simulating human thinking. And didn't the article mention some updates to Atlas back in December 2024?
Yes, exactly. They rolled out some significant improvements then, better reasoning, and really importantly, deeply integrated RAG.
RAG-J, Retrieval Augmented Generation.
That's the one. It lets the agents handle more complex, multi-step questions by fetching very specific, relevant information from designated sources. And the RAG part is huge for trust, the article suggests, because it allows for inline citations.
Inline citations. Meaning?
Meaning, when the agent gives you an answer or proposes an action, you can click and see the exact document or data point it used.
Oh, wow, okay. So you can verify it?
Exactly. Helps check accuracy. Plus, the source says you can upload your own files, PDFs, even point it to URLs, to use as specific knowledge sources for your agent through RAG.
That verification sounds critical. So Atlas does the thinking, RA finds the facts. But where does it get the big picture, the customer context?
That's Data Cloud. The source is really clear on this. Data Cloud provides the essential customer data that grounds Agentforce. It brings together all sorts of data, CRM records, email transcripts, call logs, PDFs, structured, unstructured.
All of it.
Right. It unifies it, makes it usable for the LLMs, and gives the agents that deep awareness of a specific customer or situation.
Okay, that makes sense. Grounded in real data. The article also listed some of the first agents Salesforce built with this. What kinds of jobs were they doing?
Yeah, the initial batch covered a pretty wide range of business functions, likely to show off its versatility. The source mentioned things like a campaign optimizer for marketing, a service agent, basically a supercharged chatbot replacement, a buyer agent for B2B stuff, personal shopper for retail, merchant agent for website tasks, an SDR agent for sales leads, and even a sales coach.
A sales coach. For training.
Yeah, for training, pitch practice, things like that. The first version, Agentforce 1, became generally available back in October 2024. And initially, the pricing model mentioned was around $2 per conversation, with volume discounts.
$2 a chat? Okay. And obviously for these agents to do stuff, they need to connect to other systems. How integrated is it?
Oh, absolutely critical. Integration is key. It's deeply woven into Salesforce Customer 360, so it can pull from and act within sales, service, marketing, commerce. Having that complete customer view is essential, the source says, especially for smooth handoffs to human agents if needed, keeping the full context.
Makes sense. What about outside Salesforce?
Yep, covered too. MuleSoft is mentioned for connecting to external systems via APIs. Think pulling data from an ERP or triggering something in a third-party logistics platform. It's also tightly integrated with Slack, so employees can chat with agents, kick off workflows, manage tasks right there.
So Slack becomes like a command center.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the source says agents can even learn from relevant Slack conversations using something called Slack Enterprise Search. And finally, Tableau Einstein integration means insights the agent uses or finds can be visualized right within people's workflows.
Okay, quite connected then. So they've got the engine, the data grounding, some examples. But if I'm a company, how do I actually build these? And crucially, how do I make sure they're safe? Are there developer tools?
Yes, definitely. Building and, importantly, governance are big focus areas. Salesforce has tools specifically for creating and managing these agents safely.
Like that testing center the article mentioned.
Exactly. That testing center, announced December 24, sounds pretty vital. It lets businesses test their agents thoroughly before deploying them. Check they follow instructions, don't make stuff up, perform reliably, helps manage the risk. He gives tools for testing, auditing, scaling them up.
That seems essential if they're taking action.
Totally. There's also a library of skills and integrations, also from December 24. Think of it like pre-built Lego blocks, components and actions for CRM, Slack, Tableau, even from AppExchange partners. So you could grab a ready-made lead nurturing skill or an integration piece to connect to your inventory system. Speeds things up.
Okay, so building blocks. And then the article mentioned Agentforce 2DX in March 2025. Sounded like an evolution.
Was. Agentforce 2DX kind of broadened the vision, not just agents you chat with, but also proactive agents, ones that work more autonomously behind the scenes, integrated into systems, anticipating needs, taking action without needing a human to ask every time.
Proactive. Okay, that's a shift.
Yeah. And 2DX also brought more refined tools, low-code options for faster building, but also pro-code tools for developers needing more control. They launched a free Agentforce Developer Edition for prototyping. And Agent Exchange, a marketplace for templates and actions, had over 200 partners at launch, apparently. Plus, they set up an Agent Blazer community for developers and IT folks to share tips and best practices.
Okay, quite the ecosystem building up. That proactive agent idea is interesting. I also saw the article went into detail on industry-specific versions. Can you walk us through those? That seems really practical.
Absolutely. This is where it gets very tangible for different sectors. The source details several industry launches from early 2025. First up was Agentforce for Retail in January. This came with pre-built skills specifically for retail aimed at what they called digital labor.
Digital labor, huh?
Yeah. Think agents managing orders for self-service updates, providing guided shopping recommendations conversationally, scheduling appointments for deliveries or services, even helping marketers create loyalty promotions. And it ties into their retail cloud platform.
Okay, retail makes sense. What else?
Then in April 25, Agentforce for Field Service. This is aimed at dispatchers and technicians out in the field. And the article highlights a major pain point here, apparently. Inefficient scheduling wastes almost a full workday per week per person for field service teams, just on admin.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. So Agentforce aims to automate scheduling, help fill sudden gaps, give real-time troubleshooting help on the job, even summarize job reports automatically. A neat feature mentioned is audio playback and natural language voice commands, so techs can use it hands-free while working.
Hands-free is smart for field work. Okay, what other industries?
May 2025 saw two more. Agentforce for HR Service, embedded in their HR platform. This gives employees out-of-the-box ways to handle common HR tasks conversationally in Slack, or an employee portal. Things like getting personalized benefit answers, managing cases, updating direct deposit info.
Stuff that normally takes forms or calls.
Exactly. Requesting time off, submitting expenses, escalating to a human HR person when needed, all grounded in company policies and connected to the core HR systems.
Okay, HR self-service. And the last one.
Also, May 2025, Agentforce for Financial Services. This provides pre-built, role-specific templates within their financial services cloud. The idea is to automate those admin tasks that pull advisors or bankers away from client time, prepping for reviews, handling lost card replacements, finding loan options, all grounded in the firm's data, and, crucially, compliance rules. They mentioned templates for financial advisors, bankers, insurance service agents like reversing fees or explaining coverage, and even a digital loan officer agent.
Those industry versions really show how they envision this being used day to day. Now, the article also spent time on a big partnership with Google.
Yes, that's a major strategic element. Salesforce and Google expanded their partnership, specifically around Agentforce. Basically, Salesforce customers can now choose to build their Agentforce agents using Google's Gemini models.
Ah, using Gemini's power.
Right. And they can also deploy their Salesforce setup, including Agentforce, on Google Cloud infrastructure if they want. The source gave a really powerful example of how this works together. Integrating Agentforce's grounding with Google Search. Using Google's Vertex AI and the zero-copy link between Salesforce Data Cloud and Google BigQuery.
Zero copy meaning the data isn't duplicated.
Exactly. So Agentforce agents can tap into real-time external info from Google Search news events, citations, adding crucial context. The example was a supply chain agent tracking shipments with internal Salesforce data, but also proactively flagging disruptions using real-time Google Search data on weather, port congestion, geopolitical stuff.
That's incredibly powerful context.
It really is. And the article says by the end of 2025, Gemini models will be directly available inside Agentforce for building prompts and reasoning, which promises things like multimodal abilities, better understanding, speed. Plus, running on Google Cloud offers secure, AI-optimized infrastructure, but you still get Salesforce's Einstein trust layer protections, dynamic grounding, zero data retention, toxicity checks, and eventually you'll be able to buy Salesforce stuff right through the Google Cloud Marketplace.
Okay, that Google partnership seems like a significant boost, but is this real yet? Are companies actually using Agentforce? The article had examples, right?
Yes, absolutely. Real-world usage is key.
Yeah.
And the source gives some compelling ones. Salesforce itself is using Agentforce internally on their own help site, help.salesforce.com, and the results are reported are pretty eye-opening. Agents handled 83% of customer support queries on their own.
83%, wow.
And that led to a 50% drop in cases needing human escalation in just 2 weeks after they turned it on.
2 weeks. That's incredibly fast impact.
It really highlights the potential speed. Another example is RBC, the bank. They're using Atlas and Data Cloud with Agentforce to give financial advisors that unified client view. and let agents answer complex client questions using the bank's specific data and rules.
Okay, finance makes sense. Anyone else?
Accenture is using it internally, too, for employee productivity.
Mm.
Agents giving account updates, finding documents, suggesting solutions, helping with proposals, keeping teams updated. And the article just lists a bunch of other companies Salesforce has named as customers, showing it's getting traction. 1-800-Accountant, AAA Washington, Adecco Group, BACA Systems, Bouygues Telecom, Engine, indeed, OpenTable, Saks, Shark Ninja, Wayfair, Wiley. Quite a mix.
That internal Salesforce stat, half the escalation's gone in 2 weeks, that's really something. But okay, if these things can take actions,
Yes.
trust, security, governance, that has to be massive. How did the source cover that?
Huge. And yes, the article details a whole suite of trust and governance features announced around mid-May 2025. The goal is an integrated enterprise-level foundation for deploying these agents safely, letting companies govern their data consistently across Salesforce, whether it's inside standard apps or not.
So a safety net?
Pretty much. It pulls together Agentforce, Data Cloud, MuleSoft, and something they call trusted services. That bucket includes tech from acquisitions like Own, plus their existing Shield product, and the Einstein Trust Layer. Specific things mentioned include that zero-copy data access we talked about. Agents use data without copying it. Built-in policy enforcement, so agents stick to the rules. Real-time monitoring.
Transparency, too, seeing why it did something.
Yes. AI behavior transparency is listed. Also, data protection with Salesforce Backup and Recover that used to be Own Recover. Archiving for compliance. Tools like Data Mask and Seed to test agents safely using anonymized sandbox data. Shield 2.0 for better user activity monitoring and threat detection. And Security Center 2.0, which integrates risk assessments, maybe like those from Own Secure.
Sounds comprehensive, like they knew this was crucial.
They had to address it, yeah. And they also stressed tools for developers to build and test securely before anything goes live.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Last piece then, pricing. How does Salesforce charge for this? Did it stay at that $2 per conversation?
It evolved. The article notes that initial $2 model, but then details new options introduced in May 2025, offering more flexibility. One is Flex Credits. This is consumption-based. You pay per action the agent takes. An action costs 20 Flex Credits, which works out to about $0.10 per action. They sell these in packs.
Pay per action? Okay.
Then there's a Flex Agreement. This sounds interesting. It lets companies shift budget between human labor, like user licenses, and this digital labor, the Flex Credits, depending on their priorities and how much they automate.
Flexibility between human and AI work.
Seems like it. And third, they introduced new Agentforce user licenses and add-ons. These give unlimited use of agents for employees, priced per user per month. So the agent becomes part of that employee's toolkit.
Right, integrating it into the workflow. Okay. Wow. That really was a deep dive. We went from the basic idea, that shift to agentic AI,
Yeah, third wave.
to how Agentforce actually does it on the platform. The Atlas engine, the RA, the data cloud grounding.
The building tools, the testing center,
Then those industry examples, which really brought it to life. Retail, field service.
HR, financial services.
And that huge Google partnership, the customer stories, especially Salesforce's own results.
And finally, the trust layer and the new pricing. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground based on that source.
It really does feel like AI is shifting gear, doesn't it? Moving past just, writing poems or summarizing meetings.
Definitely. The focus in this source on deep integration with company data, with compliance, and enabling actual actions, scheduling things, updating records, assisting complex tasks, that feels like the core of this agentic wave.
And seeing numbers like that 50% reduction in support escalations in 2 weeks, it makes the potential feel very immediate, very tangible.
It does. It really makes you think about all those routine, time-sucking admin tasks in almost any job, any industry. The stuff that pulls skilled people away from higher value work.
So thinking about this, what does it all mean for you listening in? It suggests AI agents aren't just theory anymore. They're here, they're getting integrated, and they're being designed carefully to take action within real business context.
Which leads to a really important question for you to maybe chew on. If AI agents can now reliably do things based on understanding data and rules, not just generate information, what new possibilities or maybe what new challenges or precautions does that open up for how businesses run and maybe how you interact with technology in your own work every single day?
Definitely something to think about as you go about your day. We hope this deep dive gave you a useful shortcut to understanding Salesforce Agentforce and this, pretty fascinating shift towards AI that acts.